Morning. Something here cannot be heard with the ear. It will not ride on the words. It must be discerned between the lines, in the interval before you reach for the next thought. The physical ear can never hear truth, any more than the physical tongue can utter truth. If you are listening for sentences, you will go home with sentences. If you are listening for the gap in which sentences fail and something else stirs, you will not go home with anything at all. And yet, you will not go home empty. Now, this is not a class in how to take hold of life. No. It is the end of taking hold. You have tried that. You have worn the tendons thin with it. You have called it prudence, responsibility, parenting, professionalism. Control. Control is not safety. It is strain. Control is the personal I standing at the edge of a moving ocean with a teacup. And the more earnest that I becomes, the more tired it is. Nobody here has been saved by that weariness. Nobody. Now then, let us speak plainly of the conflict. It is not between you and circumstances. It is between realms. The human scene is a stage that demands management because it has no government of peace in itself. It is a marketplace of causes and effects, plans and repairs, never finished, never satisfied. But peace belongs to another government, which does not cross that border as a better policy. My kingdom is not of this world, not of it. Not even an improved this world, not even a perfect this world. Do not try to drag the kingdom into time and ask it to tidy up your hours. It will not. The kingdom is not a reform movement. It is a different government. What then are you to do in this hour? Not believe me. Do not believe me. Not argue. There is no use arguing with words that were not meant to carry their own proof. Your work is to be still enough to let a split second of silence appear. That is all. In that instant where the mind tires of reaching, where thought pauses without your help, grace rushes. Not a statement of truth, the truth itself. You will not hear it as a sound. You will know it as relief without a reason. And the earth, your earth of effort and outcome, melts a little. Understand me. This is not passivity. This is not apathy. This is not let life happen to me. We will come to that later. For now, see the reversal that begins the way. You do not need more control. You need to recognize the realm in which control is unnecessary. To stand there, you must stop standing here. Give up for this minute the yesterday you would fix and the tomorrow you would secure. Live only this breath, without ownership of results. My kingdom is not of this world. Say it within, and then stop even saying it. Wait. There, in the unsaid, governance begins. Control, as you have practiced it, is not competence. It is confession. It is the personal sense of I standing up and saying, there is no higher government for me. I will be my own providence. You may not utter those words, but your hands say them when they clench the wheel. Your nights say them when they stay awake rehearsing conversations and contingencies. Your calendar says them when it stacks measures upon measures to fence out the unknown. This is not prudence. This is prayer to a self that cannot answer. There is a hidden bargain under it. If I can manage outcomes, I can avoid fear. Look at it. The very pledge becomes the factory of fear. The more you accept responsibility for what does not belong to you, the breath of another, the weather, the economy, the thoughts of those you love, The more variables you claim, the more terror you incubate. Owning outcomes breeds dread of outcomes. Owning time breeds dread of time. The fear is not a flaw in your nature. It is the honest signal that you have appointed the wrong governor. When we fear, we say, "I will make my demonstration without the help of God." Not as criticism, as arithmetic. Now, toughly. Nobody is going to make your life secure by managing the variables. Nobody. Not a spouse, not a child, not a leader, not even the so-called spiritual teacher. Because the variables of this scene do not submit to personal jurisdiction. Tell me, who here turns the planet? Who here commands sap to rise in spring? Who here keeps the heart from halting as you sleep? And yet the same I that cannot order a single star believes it must order a household, a ledger, a diagnosis, and the temper of a city. Do you see the absurd strain of that posture? Control dresses itself in virtue words. Responsibility, planning, vigilance. These are good words in their right place, but watch the slide. Planning becomes preoccupation. Vigilance becomes suspicion. Responsibility becomes ownership. And there comes the fatigue. The jaw tightens. The shoulders rise. You stop listening and start scanning. You no longer act, you brace. All the while calling it love or leadership or adulthood. It is none of these. It is fear in a necktie. I am not asking you to drop the bills, abandon the children, cancel the appointments. That is not the message. I am asking you to recognize who imagines itself to be carrying them. The issue is not your list. The issue is the consciousness that believes it must be the center of gravity for a universe. Now then, hear this clearly. The need to control is the personal self announcing it has no higher government to rely upon. That is the diagnosis, not a sin, a mistake in government. My kingdom is not of this world. If that sentence is only a religious slogan, you will go on managing and tiring. If it is recognized as geography, two realms, two governments, then you can stop accusing circumstances and begin relocating authority. For as long as I imagines it must govern, fear will be its counselor and fatigue its food. When I releases the throne, even for a breath, something else enters, not an improved policy, a different government. We will come to the how. For this hour, let the confession stand exposed. Control is separation stated aloud. Admit that, and you have already loosened the knot. Now then, two realms, two governments. Do not blur them. The human scene runs by law, reaction, and consequence. It is a market of sowing and reaping, action and counteraction, blame and reward. It trembles under its own arithmetic. Grace is another jurisdiction. It does not belong to the sequence of events, nor is it a kinder sequence of the same kind. My kingdom is not of this world. Not of it. Not even an improved this world. You must learn to stand in one while beholding the other. You will still appear in this world, take its trains, answer its telephones, sign its papers. But you will not accept its government as final. You will not seek safety by its calculations, nor identity by its approvals. In the world, but not of it, is not a slogan. It is a change of government. The question is not, how do I get God to fix this world? The question is, from what government am I living? Look at the evidence, and cease the sentimental accounting that has fooled religion for centuries. Good people sicken. Children die. The unjust are promoted. tyrants sleep. If you cling to moral bookkeeping to prove a divine hand inside the human ledger, you will have to lie to yourself. Or you will have to accuse God. Do neither. Simply see, God is not in the human scene as governor. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. The bombs do not pause for prayer. In that jurisdiction there is law, but not grace. There is cause and effect, but not peace. Accept this, and you will stop begging heaven to polish a realm it never promised to rule. Now, surrender. Do not mistake the word. Surrender is not collapse, nor apathy, nor fatalism. It is not let life happen to me. Surrender is the withdrawal of false jurisdiction from the personal I. Up to now, the I has filed every case in a court that never had your case. Surrender is changing courts. You remove your claim from time, fear, and outcome ownership, and you place yourself, quietly, inwardly, under grace. Not as an idea, as government. And then the nature of that realm announces itself. Supply is not earned, it is native. Direction is not wrung from analysis, it unfolds. Protection is not secured by vigilance, it is inherent being. You do not buy these with effort. You consent to them by leaving the wrong government. You still act, but you do not brace. You still plan, but you do not own. You still care, but you do not clutch. Peace is not an improved human scene. Peace is entry, now, into another government altogether. Hold this firm line. When you are tempted to measure justice by who gets what, remember, that is this world trying to hypnotize you back into its court. When you are tempted to hurry the future or repair the past, remember, that is time drafting you into its army. Refuse enlistment. Turn within. Stand unargued and unowned for a breath. My kingdom is not of this world. Remain there and let that government be your government. Now then, see how time becomes the rope that drags you back under the old government? Not clocks, not calendars. The habit of projecting yourself into yesterday's echoes and tomorrow's phantoms. The instant you move into a memory to justify yourself, or into a forecast to secure yourself, you have stepped out of grace and back into personal rule. Control feeds on those two deserts. Yesterday and tomorrow are vacuums. They contain nothing to live. Only the mind, frightened of naked now, tries to pitch its tent there. Try this, and do not philosophize it. Try to live a minute from now. Not think about it, live it. You cannot. It is a complete vacuum. There is no oxygen a minute from now. There is no bread a minute from now to digest. There is no love a minute from now to feel. Whenever the rose blooms, it is now. Try also to live a minute ago. You cannot. That is a vacuum of ashes, pictures, words, sensations already spent. Grace does not enter a vacuum. Grace is presence. Presence is now. All the machinery of control depends upon those vacuums. You rehearse conversations because you have invented a tomorrow where approval is rationed and must be won. You stack contingencies because you have built a forecast of losses to be prevented by your cleverness. You polish your story of yesterday to secure a justification for having what you fear to lose. You see? Control is time-based thinking. It cannot operate in the present because the present refuses ownership. In the present, there is only being, and being has no handles for the personal I to grip. Hear the demand, and do not treat it as poetry. Give up yesterday. Give up tomorrow. Not as denial, as obedience to where grace is accessible. If the kingdom is a state of grace felt only now, why keep pleading with a day that does not exist? My kingdom is not of this world. It is not of the world that counts itself in befores and afters. The moment you attempt to live in time, even in religious time, even in spiritual progress time, you have taken yourself out of the kingdom and back into management. And management breeds fear. Always. This is tough, and it is merciful. Tough because it forbids your favorite excuses, the old injuries and the future emergencies. Merciful because it ends the burden of performing a life across an imaginary span. Nobody has ever lived a minute from now. Nobody. Do not be the first to try. Stand where life is already happening. Now, the question must become practical. How do we enter now without collapsing into irresponsibility? How do we give up yesterday and tomorrow and still answer the telephone, drive the child to school, sign the paper? You do it by withdrawing ownership from the act while letting the act proceed. For this breath, refuse the past that accuses and the future that demands. Cease rehearsing. Cease defending. Be still enough that thought loses its momentum and a split second of silence appears. In that instant, you are in the only place where grace can govern. From there, the step to take is given, not forced. From there, action is clean of anxiety. Remain there, and you will discover that the day moves, and you are carried. Do not mistake being carried for collapse. Do not mistake stillness for quitting. Now then, let us correct a confusion that returns like a habit. Surrender is not the end of effort. It is the end of authorship. It is not dropping the task. It is dropping the signature you have been writing across every outcome. You still dial the number. You still keep the appointment. You still set the table, wash the dish, place the call to the doctor, balance the account. You do not crown yourself the owner of the result. In other words, action remains. Anxious ownership goes. Not careless, not passive, not irresponsible. Governed. Resignation is not surrender. Resignation says, nothing matters, and grows numb. Resignation is a gray room with no windows. It deadens the ear and stiffens the back. Surrender opens the windows. Surrender is alive, alert, keen. It listens before it moves, and then it moves with a light hand. Resignation is fatigue baptizing itself as wisdom. Surrender is wisdom removing strain. Resignation lets go because it is tired of caring. Surrender lets go because it recognizes a higher government and refuses to usurp it. Now, here is the fear beneath the fear. If I stop controlling, everything will fall apart. In the human scene, many things do fall apart. They always have. Structures built by worry require more worry to stand another day. The minute you relax your grip, what was being held together by fear shows its true nature. Fragile. Do not mourn that. Let what belongs to fear return to dust. What belongs to grace does not need your straps and braces. In the other government, what is true stands without you and stands with you, but never because of you. My kingdom is not of this world. Do you hear? Not an improved chain of causes, a different government. When you place yourself, quietly, inwardly, under that government, you will find that the necessary acts present themselves and the untrue compulsions dissolve. The child still gets to school. The paper still gets signed. but the trembling center is gone. You are afraid surrender will make you foolish. It will not. It will make you sane. You are afraid surrender will make you slow. It will not. It will cut out the detours that fear loves. You are afraid surrender will make you weak. It will not. It will reveal that your real strength was never in the forearm, but in the presence that moves the forearm. Not apathy, not fatalism, not let life happen. Oversight happens, under grace. You will appear the same to the passerby, but inside you will know the exchange. The false I has stepped down. The government of ease has taken the chair. And how is this done? Not by a vow, not by a 30-day program, by a split second in which the personal I stops crowding the stage and a silence appears. In that silence, you consent. You do not command. You do not bargain. You concede jurisdiction. From there, take the next step that is given, without the story, without the brace. If you lose it, you return in the next breath. This is the practice. This is the reversal. True surrender does not collapse your life. It removes the false I that tries to run it, and in that removal, life stands up in its own authority. Now, we come to the mechanism, and it is not a mechanism the mind can operate. Revelation is never produced by thought. Never. It does not come at the end of a clever sentence or a holier sentence. The physical ear cannot hear truth any more than the physical tongue can utter it. When, for a moment, sometimes no more than a blink, thought ceases its reaching, there is a split second of silence, and into that stillness rushes the truth. Not a statement of truth, the spirit itself. And then the earth, that private earth of strain and ownership, melts a little. How do you cooperate with this without turning it into another project? Watch the control thought as it rises. Do not fight it. Do not argue with it. Let it complete itself as a wave completes itself upon the sand. The instant it has spent itself, do not pick up the next one. Do not reach for a replacement thought, even a spiritual one. Wait, just there. In that unsponsored interval, unclaimed by the personal I, silence appears. It is not long. It does not need to be. A split second is enough for grace to declare its presence. You will know it. Not as a voice, as a loosening. The iron sense of, I must make this happen, softens without your permission. The chest is given back to breath. The forehead unwinds. No one announced a plan, and yet something else is here, governing, guiding, supplying. You did nothing but stop doing. You did not conquer a fear. You ceased consenting to the governor that manufactures fear. In that fraction of stillness, governance transfers, without ceremony, without fireworks. The burden slips, and, for that moment, you are carried. Now then, understand why words fail. Words can lead you to the door. They cannot take you through. Any word you speak, even God, even grace, even I am, belongs to the realm of thought. Useful as a signpost, fatal as a substitute. Do not try to make a mantra do what only emptiness can allow. Do not try to hold the silence. Holding is noise. Owning is noise. Analysis is noise. Surrender is quiet, because the I that makes noise has stepped back a pace and declined to be author. That is all. And all is there. Prepare to repeat this, not as a ritual of piety, but as the simple hygiene of remaining in the kingdom. Many small transitions lead to one great transition. All through the day, let the micro-practice appear. Before you answer, a breath. After the email writes itself in your head, a breath. At the red light, a breath. When fear says, "What about tomorrow?" let the sentence finish, and then a breath that has no owner. If you miss it, do not mourn. Nobody keeps it unbroken in the early days. Nobody. Return and return again. At some hour you will notice that returning has become residence. The scattered silences have joined, and you are no longer a student straining to reach grace. You are one under grace, for whom action proceeds without anxious ownership. Grace is received in silence, not achieved by thinking harder. My kingdom is not of this world. It is not of the world of projects and performances and results with your name on them. It is revealed in the interval where the personal I yields the floor. Now then, take the next given step from there, and only from there, and let the government of silence be the government of your day. Now then, we must look fear in the face and let it say what it truly says. Fear is not an emotion to manage. It is a confession. The moment you fear, you are saying, "I intend to make my demonstration without God." You may never utter it with the lips, but the inner posture declares it clearly. Fear arises only when the personal I has resumed government and believes itself the planner, the protector, the provider. That is all fear has ever been. Self-reliance, speaking aloud. Do not sentimentalize it. Do not decorate it. Do not tell long stories about why your case is special. Nobody has a fear that is not this: I am back to personal government. This is arithmetic, not accusation. Accept it, and you remove the glamour. Fear is a flashing red light on the dashboard of consciousness. You have slipped from grace into management. See how quickly it breeds its family of controls. The fear thought appears. Immediately, the hands reach for levers. Overplanning. 3 schedules for one day. 5 contingencies for one meeting. A binder for what a breath could decide. Over-explaining. Long paragraphs to justify, persuade, control the impressions of others. Overprotecting. Wrapping children, projects, and bodies in layers of anxiety until love cannot breathe. Overworking. Grinding late, not from inspiration, but from terror of consequence. All of this is the personal I. Frantic because it believes that outcomes are its property and its burden. My kingdom is not of this world. Outcomes do not belong to you in that government. Therefore, fear has nothing to grip. Now then, the corrective. Do not battle fear with optimism. Do not shout affirmations at it. Do not paint it with rosy colors. That is still the personal I trying to out-talk its own echo. Let fear finish its sentence. Let it say, "without God," and recognize the arithmetic. Then, do not answer with argument. Step out of the speaker. One breath that has no owner. One split second in which you do not pick up the next thought. A silence. There. Governance transfers. Not I, but the Christ. Do not make that a talisman. Do not think that saying it louder makes it true. It is not a phrase. It is a change of reliance. It is the inner concession. I decline authorship. I decline ownership. I live now under another government. In that concession, fear withers, not because circumstances have changed, but because the claimant of circumstances has vacated the seat. You will notice this in small ways first. The email you were rehearsing writes itself in 10 clean words. The conversation you feared becomes a listening and a simple answer. The hand that was trembling over the signature is steady, not because a guarantee was received, but because the guarantee was never needed. Grace guides. Grace supplies. Grace protects. Not in time. Now. Every time fear returns, treat it as the bell that calls you back to government. Do not hate it. Use it. It rings, you return. Silence appears. You are carried. This is the training that prepares you for the transition we shall speak of, when living under grace ceases to be an interval and becomes the atmosphere. If fear is self-reliance stated aloud, then surrender is the end of self-reliance as your operating system. Finish the sentence of fear, and then stop speaking. In the unsaid, a different government announces itself. Here, now. Now then, there is a before, and there is an after. Do not make this mystical beyond recognition. Up to a certain hour, you are a student of truth. You read, you listen, you practice the breath with no owner. You fail, you return. You forget, you return again. The mind asks for assurances, the nerves ask for guarantees. You keep to the straight and narrow as best you can, and you are not harmed by the struggle. Pride is harmed. Pride does not survive long on this path. Let it not. But there comes a moment, yes, at a date and a time in this human sense, when the teaching stops being a concept and becomes your life. Not a better idea, a change of government. It may happen at midnight. It may come at 3 a.m., when the house is still and the last argument in your head has worn itself out. It may break open at 11:17 in the middle of a workday phone call, while you are saying, "One moment," and you actually mean it. It may arrive while standing in a grocery line, as the scanner beeps and your mind tries to tally tomorrows. Suddenly, no trumpet, there is a release from the center outward. You relax, not because a plan succeeded, but because the personal claimant is not on the throne. You discover, like stepping into warm water, that you no longer feel ultimate responsibility for your life's outcomes. The strap around the chest is gone. The jaw is free. Thought does not lead, it follows. Governance has transferred. Mark this carefully. Nothing on the surface is canceled. You still dial the number. You still make the appointment. You still prepare the brief, hang the IV, change the diaper, balance the account. But the fuel is different. Anxiety no longer burns in the engine. You are not moving to secure tomorrow. You are moved because now is living you. Action remains. Ownership departs. My kingdom is not of this world, not even an improved this world. You are doing what is necessary, but you are not doing it for safety, for applause, for control. You are doing it because the step appears and you take it. That is all. And all is there. Until that hour, do not despise the practice. Miss it 100 times, return 101. Nobody in this room has kept silence unbroken in the beginning. Nobody. Do not write letters to yourself about failure. Do not tell the room how hard it is. Keep quiet and go ahead and struggle. Each small relinquishment is a chisel stroke on the false center. Each breath without an owner weakens the habit of authorship. Then, unannounced, the wall gives way. At once and without your engineering. After the transition, you may still be tempted. Memory and forecast will still wave their papers at your door. but a line has been crossed. You may glance back into the old court. You cannot live there as before. You have tasted the atmosphere of another government, and dust will not pass for bread again. You find that returning is swift now, almost reflex. Responsibility for outcomes does not stick to you. It slides off into grace. You cannot explain it to the ear. You can only recognize it by fruit. Steadiness without hardness. Kindness without bargaining. Labor without worry. Do not try to schedule this event. Do not set it for Friday. Prepare for it. Live in the little returns. Let the split seconds join. Keep withdrawing authorship and refusing time. When the moment comes, midnight, 3 a.m., or among the ringing phones, you will know it without words. The burden drops where it always belonged, and you come to live, not study, under grace. Now then, application. Take no thought for tomorrow is not a ban on calendars. It is the end of living under them. It is jurisdictional. You may draw a map for tomorrow, but you do not move into the map and try to breathe its paper air. You plan, yes, but you refuse to make the plan your life, your security, your God. The step is made from now, not from a projection. My kingdom is not of this world. Not even an improved tomorrow of this world. Live under that government while using the tools of this one, and you will find that the tools serve without ruling. Let it be concrete. The difficult conversation. Prepare the 2 or 3 clean points that are yours to bring. Clarify what you will not say, because manipulation is not your government. Then stop owning the outcome. Before you dial or knock, a breath without an owner. Let the silence appear. Enter from there. You will speak fewer words and truer ones. Finances. Make the budget. Pay the bills. Set aside the portion that wisdom suggests. Then end the rehearsal of future famine. Refuse to live in a month that does not exist. If a number changes, you adjust the line in the ledger. You do not surrender your center to a digit. Health. The symptom appears. You do not play prophet of catastrophe. You inquire, you consult. You follow the sane instruction that presents itself, and you let fear finish its sentence without becoming its stenographer. Family tensions. You show up. You listen. You speak a clear yes or no. You do not try to regulate the weather systems of other hearts. Do what is yours. Release the rest to the only government that can govern hearts. Here is the inner sequence. First, acknowledge the demand to control. Do not varnish it. I am reaching. See it. Next, return to now. Give up yesterday's case law and tomorrow's threats. Then pause into silence. One breath that has no author. Do not decorate it with phrases. Let thought lose the lead for a split second. From that quiet, act. Make the call. Sign the paper. Take the pill. Prepare the meal. Each step given from silence carries its own authority. You will discover that action from quiet is more accurate, not less. Like the hand steadied by a pulse greater than its own. Hold to principle, as if it were mathematics. One wrong digit contaminates the whole sum. You cannot keep 90% of your life under grace and reserve a corner for private rule. In music, one note a hair off curdles the chord. Half surrender is still strain. If you add 1 teaspoon of ownership to the recipe, you taste worry again. Integrity must be total, not as heroics, but as the nature of law. Either grace governs or personal I governs, not both. Now then, The promise is sober, and it is real. Under grace, right activity sharpens. Guidance replaces obsession. You will find your timing uncanny, your words succinct, your refusals clean. You miss less because you are not busy rehearsing what does not exist. And when you do miss, correction comes swiftly because you are not defending an author's pride. Take no thought cancels anxious ownership, not intelligent action. Keep the appointment, relinquish the outcome. Open the ledger, refuse to live in its columns. Hear the symptom. Do the next sane thing from silence. Enter the room. Let love, not leverage, be your government. Over and over, the same quiet sequence. See the reach. Return to now. Wait into silence. Act from the stillness. This is how a day is lived, without neglect and without strain. Here, where grace governs. Now then, here is the subtlety that trips even the earnest. The personal I will try to hire the spiritual life as a consultant. It wants a finer method, a cleaner leverage, a set of invisible strings to pull the same visible puppets. It will sit in meditation to gain an advantage. It will say, grace, with the same tone it once said, plan. Do not be fooled. As long as the I remains the center, even holiness becomes a strategy of control. And control is the confession of unbelief. Listen to your language, and you will hear your government. I will be peaceful. Future. I was spiritual yesterday. Past. Both are vacuums. Or, I am peaceful. Even that, said by the personal I, carries the ink of self-authorship. Better to say nothing and let is speak. Is. Not I was, not I will be, not even a self-congratulating I am. Is. Presence without owner. Government without claimant. My kingdom is not of this world. It is not the kingdom of pronouns and performances. It is the realm of is. The personal I manufactures pairs to keep its office open. Success and failure. Worthy and unworthy. Safe and unsafe. Up and down. It needs tension to justify its management. Without a problem and a prize, the I has no job to do. But in the kingdom, hear this, not one of those pairs exists as reality. There is no success to secure and no failure to fear. There is only right activity under grace. There is no worthy to attain and no unworthy to punish. There is only is expressing itself as you. There is no safe to hoard and no unsafe to dread. There is only the presence that is its own protection now. The I keeps the pendulum moving. Grace is the still axis. Now then, abandon the theater of self-improvement for the sanctuary of self-surrender. We do not overcome control by becoming better controllers of our controlling. We step out of the jurisdiction where control is needed. We are not polishing the I into a saint. We are letting the I retire from the post it never could fill. This is not apathy. It is governance by is. In the split second when the mind drops its handles, silence appears, and governance transfers. Notice what follows when personal sense thins. Judgment loosens. Judgment is control in a robe, grading, fixing, arranging people and events to keep the I safe and superior. It says, this one rises, that one falls. This is acceptable, that is refuse. Do not dress it in moral language. It is fear distributing labels. As you concede government to grace, the knife of judgment dulls. You see without branding. You respond without arranging. The less personal sense, the less verdict. And without verdict, love is free to govern. Let this be the inner decree. I relinquish center. Not I, but is. Not ownership, but presence. Control ends when the personal I ceases its noisy centrality and permits grace to be government. Do it now, not as a phrase, but as a breath with no author. One split second of silence. Is. And then the next given step, clean of opposites, free of verdict, under grace. Now then, we have spoken of releasing ownership of tasks and outcomes. It must go further. Control hides most stubbornly in our dealings with people. Not events only, people. How they should think, how they should agree, how they should behave so that you can rest. That is the last frontier of management. You do not want their good. You want your quiet. And you demand to purchase quiet by arranging their minds. This is control in its pious clothing. Hear me. The sectarian mind, religious, political, moral, domestic, cannot receive revelation. Not because God withholds, but because a mind busy sorting cannot hear. When you insist on your categories as final, clean/unclean, worthy/unworthy, our kind/not our kind, you are saying, my law is the law. My labels are reality. And revelation has no entrance through labels. My kingdom is not of this world. Not even a perfected system of this world's labels. Remember the movement, not the story. What you have called unclean, God has not called unclean. That is not permission for wrongdoing. It is release from prejudging. It is the end of using condemnation as a fence to feel safe. You say, but discernment is necessary. Yes, grace discerns. The personal I condemns. Grace sees what is to be done without manufacturing a category to bolster the ego. Grace can say no without hatred, correct without superiority, protect without enmity. The I cannot. Look at your reach for agreement. You say, if only my partner would see it my way. If only my colleague would respect me. If only this child would behave. If only that party would repent. You have made peace a hostage to another person's reformation. That is bondage. Nobody owes you agreement for your peace. Nobody. Not one in this room is to be depended upon for your center. If your calm requires their compliance, you have confessed that you are not under grace. You are under their weather. Now the requirement. Drop the label before you act. The impulse to brand will rise. Let it complete itself. Do not answer it with a holier brand. One breath without an owner. A split second in which you do not seize a name. In that silence, the person before you ceases to be a category and returns to being. The same being expressing as this form, caught for the moment in their weather. From there you may say yes or no, embrace or walk away, teach or decline. But it will be clean, not leverage, not management. Government by grace. Compassion is not sentiment. It is freedom from needing others to be different so that you can be at peace. From that freedom, you may serve them better, resist them more clearly, or leave them more promptly. Action remains, anxious ownership departs. You will find that words shorten, tone softens, and authority deepens, because you are no longer propping up a verdict. Transparency to grace lets love do its own seeing. Now then, live this out into the street. In the home, at the desk, in the queue, in the meeting. Release people from your private court. Refuse the categories that fortified your pride. Take the breath with no author, and let the government of silence guide the word, the boundary, the embrace. You will still be in this world, but you will not be of its prejudices. And the life under grace will become a blessing in the human scene without being trapped by it. Because when you release control over people and categories, consciousness is transparent to grace, and grace does its own work. Now then, we come to the day. Not a single heroic act, not a vow that lasts forever. A day is a string of moments, and each moment is an entrance or an exit. You will be pulled into time again. You will be tempted to manage again. The mind will begin its projections, yesterday's account, tomorrow's rescue. This is not failure. This is the wind at sea. Your work is not to conquer the wind. Your work is to set the sail again. Now, that single word, not as a slogan, but as a pivot. Now then, the brief turn that interrupts the projection without drama and brings you back under government. Make this plain. The straight and narrow is not narrow because God is stingy. It is narrow because only now holds air. Try to inhale yesterday and you choke. Try to inhale tomorrow and you suffocate. Now. One breath without an owner. A split second of silence in which you do not seize the next thought. That is all. And all is there. My kingdom is not of this world, not of the clock, nor of the scorecard, nor of the calendar. The kingdom is an atmosphere, present here and only here, and you return to it in the same way you always do, by ceasing to run the world for a heartbeat and letting grace govern. Define success correctly, or you will whip yourself for nothing. Success is not an unbroken serenity. Nobody in this room keeps it unbroken at the outset. Nobody. Success is a shorter recovery time. Yesterday, you wandered in fear for 3 hours before you remembered to return. Today, it is 30 minutes. Tomorrow, 3 minutes. Then, seconds. You do not become a statue. You become quickly responsive to reality. That is progress. Do not keep a ledger of your lapses. Stop narrating the struggle. Keep quiet and go ahead and struggle. When you wake up in the old room, do not write a biography there. Step out. Now. One breath with no author. Silence. Governance transfers. Go on. Use the day as a training ground. Tie the return to ordinary thresholds so that grace meets you at the door. Every doorway. Now. Before you touch the handle, a breath. Every phone chime. Now then. 1 second of silence before you read. At red lights. Before you answer a question. After you finish an email, but before you send. When the body complains. When the invoice stings. When a face in the hallway stirs your old verdicts. Do not make a ceremony of it. Make it hygiene. 1,000 small washings of the hands keep disease away. 1,000 small returns keep time from stealing your breath. Many returns do not exhaust you. They relieve you. They loosen the habit of authorship and cultivate readiness for that hour when the scattered silences join and you find yourself living under grace as atmosphere rather than visiting it as a guest. Understand the cumulative law. Each tiny relinquishment weakens the narrative that you are the owner of outcomes. Each instant of non-ownership teaches the nerves that safety is not achieved, it is received. Gradually, the day stabilizes. You still move in this world, but not of its alarms. You notice a new reflex. the pull into time is felt, and at once the pivot arises without your engineering. Now then. Thought follows, not leads. Action remains. Anxious ownership is absent. And this is how a life is kept. Not by one bold oath, but by returning, until return becomes residence, and the quiet government within holds the helm through the changing weather. Now then, let it be said plainly, so that the heart can rest. When grace governs, you relax. Not because circumstances sign your treaty, but because the claimant of circumstances has vacated the seat. Guidance is present without being hunted. Supply is not a fight. It appears as the next right activity, simple and sufficient. Peace is not negotiated. It is not a bargain struck with events. It is authority, quiet, unpurchased, inward. You still enter the day. You still answer the call. But the strap around the chest is gone. The tongue loses its hurry. The mind obeys a pace it did not invent. You feel carried, not driven. 2 governments remain, and you must choose, gently and finally. This world offers control and calls it security. It asks for your vigilance, your forecasts, your bargains, and in return, it gives you intervals between alarms. The kingdom offers peace and calls it truth. It asks for your relinquishment, yesterday and tomorrow, the private claim on outcomes, and in return, it gives you presence. Not a perfected human scene, a different government. My kingdom is not of this world, not even an improved this world. Accept this without argument, and the strain drains out of your religion, your work, your love. Make the sequence your habit. Give up yesterday. Give up tomorrow. Return to now. Do not decorate the return with vows. Simply refuse to breathe a minute that does not exist. Then allow the split second of silence, one breath with no author. Do not improve it. Let thought lose the lead for a heartbeat. From that quiet, act. The same tasks, the same roads, the same faces, without anxious ownership. If fear arises, let it finish its sentence, without God, and step out of the speaker. Government transfers. Again and again, the same gentle arithmetic. Now the commission. Be in the world, not of it. Do your work thoroughly. Love your family without making them your weather. Serve where you stand, cleanly, without leverage. Decline the old government at every doorway. Refuse to manage people into your peace. Refuse to purchase rest with rehearsals of tomorrow. Walk into meetings and kitchens and sick rooms and fields with the one interior practice. Now. Now then. A split second of silence. Then the next given step. You will be surprised how authority gathers around quiet, how timing arranges itself when you stop arranging, how provision arrives when you stop auditioning for safety. Hear the end as a beginning. Control ends and grace begins, exactly here. Not in a ceremony, not after 3 more proofs, but in the unnoticed instant when you relinquish authorship and let is be government. Carry this into the day. Carry it into the night. Let the breath with no owner be your passport at every threshold. And if the winds rise, do not argue with them. Return. The government has not changed. My kingdom is not of this world, and therefore your peace is not dependent on this world.